It's your boy Luke, back again for another NFL Showdown video, this time for our Sunday Night Football matchup between the Indianapolis Colts and the San Francisco 49ers. And what we do in these short videos is we get you completely prepared for this single game slate for Draftkings. We're going to talk an injury report, we're going to talk the over-under, the spread, everything like that. Of course, our favorite spend-up options for each team, and we'll wrap it up with our favorite value plays to save some salary and spend up for those stud tier options, as well as our favorite selections for the captain slot. So without further delay, let's hop right into the picks, starting it off with an injury report for this game. So we're going to start off with an injury report. So first off, we have tons of injuries on each side. For the Colts side of things, we have T.Y. Hilton, who is going to be a game-time decision. Re-injured the hamstring last weekend in his first game back. Has not practiced all week, so even though he is a game-time decision, just listed as questionable right now, I have him a little bit closer to doubtful and out in my player pool. Blankenship, their kicker, is on IR. Same thing with TJ Carey, who's been on it for quite some time. In terms of guys who were added to the injury report this week, we have Paris Campbell, who's out, who just had surgery on his foot. No timetable for his return. We have Julian Blackmon is out. He tore his Achilles this week in practice. Braden Smith out. Kamiko Toure out. Rock Yassin at cornerback is going to be out. Same thing with Jordan Wilkins, their fourth string running back. All of them not going to be playing this weekend. In terms of a little bit of brighter news on their team, they had two guys designated to return from IR, which doesn't mean they're back this week, but they will be in the next 2 to 3 weeks. That being Quinn Nelson and Desmond Patton. Both of them are key players they need back. Patton to replace somebody like Paris Campbell, also T.Y. Hilton, who's been a little bit banged up, and Quinn Nelson, their best O-line. Probably one of the best guards, period, in the NFL. So a little bit of positive news there, but in terms of this game here in Sunday Night Football, they are absolutely decimated. On the 49ers side of things, it doesn't get much better. We have Jimmy G, who's been gimpy all week, went down with an injury a few weeks ago, was not able to play last Sunday, but it's been taken off the injury report, so he should be all good to go here on Sunday. That does not mean that he's not still sore. It does not mean that he's still not banged up. They just have not put him down as probable or even questionable. He's off the injury report. He's been limited all week in practice, so we can definitely still expect him to be a little bit slower. Trey Lance, out though. He's not going to be backing up Jimmy G here. He injured his knee last week. He had 19 carries, got a lot more touches than most people expected, and got banged up as a result. So he's not going to be playing backup here. They're going to have to go to someone else as their number 2 string. John Kinlaw, out. Trent Williams, doubtful, so probably not going to play. He's the left tackle there. That's a huge deal. Maurice Hurst, out. Marcel Harris, questionable, but heavily leaning towards the doubtful side. In terms of guys who've been designated to return, only JaMychal Hasty returning from IR, and that will not be this week. We still have Kittle that will remain on IR. Same thing with Raheem Mostert and Jason Verrett. So both these teams have been hit with the injury bug, and perhaps that's why we see the total where it is here. It's only a 43-point over-under, the lowest point total on this entire week. We also have the 49ers favored by 4 points, which might be surprising to some, especially considering that they're dealing with a banged-up quarterback. Quite a few injuries to their side as well, especially since the Colts have been as impressive as they have been of late. Our offense has been clicking a lot more than we saw in the first few weeks. Carson Wentz throwing for over 300 yards. It's been a relatively productive fantasy offense as well, so I'm a little bit surprised by this total. I thought it'd be closer to maybe -1 or even -2 spread for the 49ers, even though they're home team. The Colts are just coming in with some momentum, so there'll be some interesting fantasy scenarios that we'll be able to target here come Sunday night. But in terms of our stud options for this game, on the Colts side of things, we'll kick it off with Jonathan Taylor. They're at $11,000 even. Definitely going to be a popular play. You can see he's going to be owned in more than 40% of lineups, but that should be well warranted. This is a guy who's a workhorse back, going to get plenty of touches for this team. Currently projected for 19 touches in my modeling right now, which in a lower over-under game is going to be really hard to avoid. We're not expecting a ton of touchdown production. We're not expecting a ton of yards for either team. So making sure you can fit in these guys that are going to get a ton of guaranteed touches goes a long way, especially in cash contests. At number 2, we have Carson Wentz, another guy who's going to be a huge beneficiary of this lower total game. We obviously know he's the quarterback for this team. He's going to be in a driver's seat for much of the production. But Carson Wentz also somebody who rushes the ball. You get a rushing touchdown from him from time to time. You get 20, 30 yards a game, that sort of thing. So at $10,200, I like going to him, especially in this lower total game. Definitely going to be popular. Quarterbacks in Showdown are always popular, but at 19.2 points, I don't hate the play at all. Again, we've seen this offense click a lot more than usual of late. He's been very good at passing the ball, and of course, Jonathan Taylor is still gashing teams against the run. So I like going here, even especially considering the matchup. I mean, this 49ers team, one of the best teams against the run in the entire NFL to this point. Against the pass, they are a bottom 5 defense. So Carson Wentz in a good matchup here, coming in with some good juju. And at number 1, we have Michael Pittman Jr., who did not have a very good week last week. That's why we see the price tag where it is. But T.Y. Hilton, as of right now, I have him projected as out for this game. So Michael Pittman Jr. returning to the usage levels that we saw before T.Y. Hilton returned last week, which were excellent. We were seeing 25 to 40% usage in every single game. So at $8,800 in a lower over-under game, those are exactly the kind of targets I want to go to. And this is definitely contingent on T.Y. Hilton being out. If Hilton is inserted back into the lineup, you're looking at closer to a 15 to 20% usage rate for somebody like Pittman, which makes him a lot less attractive. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that, but as of right now, do not expect Hilton to play, and as a result, Pittman is a great play. He's coming in with relatively low ownership as well, just 21.5%. Also very solid floor projection there, probably closer to the 13, 14 point floor. So really like him here for the Colts side of things. But now for our 49ers stud plays, at number 3, we have Elijah Mitchell, who's going to cost $8,200 here, which might seem a little bit steep for him, especially considering what we saw last time out, only had 8 carries. But that was in a game where they were getting blown out. The game script was definitely favored towards rushing with somebody like their quarterback. Obviously ran a lot there with Trey Lance, but Elijah Mitchell, when we've seen positive game scripts, particularly with Jimmy G at the helm, he's gotten plenty of touches, upwards of 15 touches in all of those games. So at just 19.8% ownership, I like going to him as a little bit of an ownership leverage spot. Projected for 16.2 points here, and a little bit of added bonus here is that the Colts have not been good against the run. They've been a bottom 10 defense against the run to this point of the year. So Elijah Mitchell, he's been very good in terms of a per snap basis. I like going to him in this Sunday night football matchup. Our next option will be Deebo Samuel at $9,600. A little bit more expensive, but also somebody who's had a torrent start to the season. He's gotten more touches in this offense than anyone else, and it's not even close. If you add together rushing and receiving target share, he has a 31% target share, which is just absolutely ridiculous. He's getting rushes out of the backfield. He's getting tons of setup screens, and of course, just a great route runner in general. So Deebo Samuel, one of the more criminally underrated players in the NFL. So at over 20% ownership, I'm willing to stomach that. He's well worth this price tag right there. And somebody who not only has a very high floor, but also an extremely high ceiling. I mean, this guy could put up touchdowns in every portion of the game. Sometimes they even use him as a punt returner. So really like him here for the 49ers squad. But our number 1 target is going to be Jimmy G. Yes, I'm going to the guy coming back from injury. Going to be lower owned than he should be. A lot of people are going to be a little bit hesitant to go to him because of the injury, because we haven't seen him in a few weeks. But somebody who, when he's been active this year, particularly when he's been healthy, has been one of the best players on this team. So at 61.1% ownership at flex, I actually think that's too low. Somebody I'm owning closer to the 80% mark at the flex spot. Also somebody I'm using at the captain slot, which you won't see him make my captain's list later on, but definitely somebody I will be utilizing there. Obviously a little bit expensive at $10,600. At the captain slot, you're looking at nearly $16,000, but has a very high ceiling here. This offense has been very effective at this point of the year, and while they are a little bit rush heavy, at the captain slot, he is going to be a little bit unique as a result. You know, a lot of people are going to go to somebody like Elijah Mitchell. Maybe somebody like Deebo Samuel in the captain slot is a little bit more of a chalky option. So don't hate going there either. Just wanted to mention this now as he won't make my captain's list later on. I just wanted to quickly remind you about my NFL Patreon page. That's where you guys can get my projections for every player in this game. And not just for all of our showdown slates, I also post projections for the main slate and for all the weeks going forward. The best part about it, it is just $1 for the month. So if you guys have been looking for access to my projections, to get access directly, just check out the link in the description. Again, it's just 25 cents for a week. You are not going to find a better deal in the entire industry. And now for our value plays. At number 3, we have Mohamed Sanu, who has been a little bit of a ghost for this team for quite some time, has not seen a ton of usage, but at $2,400, I like going to him, especially when we consider that George Kittle is not in this offense. Obviously, last week with Trey Lance, everything was kind of thrown off. That's why we didn't see the kind of usage from Sanu that we can expect to see with somebody like Jimmy G. But without George Kittle, that's opening about 8 to 10 targets up on this team. And not every single one of those is going to be able to go to Deebo Samuel or Brandon Ayuk. So Mohamed Sanu, somebody who's had some targets here and there in games to this point of the year. I have him projected right now for 5.1 targets in this game, which is much higher than what we've seen to this point. And at $2,400, he doesn't have to do much to pay it off. Obviously, a touchdown would be more than enough to get him there. But if he goes out there, gets you 4 catches for 60 yards, that kind of thing, that might be good enough as well. Again, this is a lower total game, just 43 implied points right here. So I think you could do a whole lot worse than Mohamed Sanu. At number 2, we have Mo Alley-Cox, who is a huge red zone threat for this Indianapolis Colts team. He's $5,200, so a little bit more expensive, but has a much higher ceiling. He's somebody who, when this team gets down to the red zone, he is definitely the #1 target for them. He's huge. He's extremely fast. He poses a huge matchup problem for essentially everyone that tries to cover him. And he's had some massive weeks in the past. We've seen multiple touchdown games. Hell, we've seen him go over 100 yards before. So again, at $5,200, I think the price is just a little bit too low. And at number 1, though, Nyheim Hines, a running back for this Colts team. And again, while I do like Jonathan Taylor on this slate, as will obviously be evident when he gets to my captain slot here with our next pick, Nyheim Hines, though, is a very good change of pace back. And if this team ends up falling behind, if the 49ers end up going out being extremely effective on offense like I expect, they're going to have to use Hines more. He's somebody who's better out of the backfield as a pass catcher, also better in terms of blocking, picking up blitzes. So Nyheim Hines at $5,600, there are more than enough outcomes out there where he gets into the optimal lineup. So at single-digit ownership, that's also something that's very attractive about the play, not garnering much steam. I have projected for 12 points exactly, which again is very intriguing and a mark that can end up being optimal. So I'll definitely have him in this lower over-under game, especially with the PPR upside that he brings to the table. But now for our captain picks. First one up is going to be Jonathan Taylor. He's definitely pricey at $16,500. Like I mentioned before, he's definitely going to be chalky as well. He's owned in over a fifth of lineups at captain, but that is well warranted. This guy is going to see more touches than anyone else in this game. No one's even going to come close. I mean, Elijah Mitchell, we're looking close to 16, 17 touches. As of right now, Jonathan Taylor projected for 20-plus touches. So this is a relatively close game. Again, I expect the game to be a little bit closer than Vegas thinks. I have it at like a 1-point edge for the 49ers. So Jonathan Taylor, again, we've seen very good performances here. My only issue is just the chalkiness, right? Somebody who is definitely garnering a lot of steam. Almost everybody in the industry is talking about him. So it depends on what kind of contest you're in. If you're in cash, absolutely play him at captain. He's a very high floor. You're also going to be duplicating yourself with a lot of the field, which is a good thing in cash. But if you're in a GPP contest and you're not interested in tying with 50 to 100 people for first place, you might want to look elsewhere. At number 2, we have Michael Pittman Jr. at $13,200. And the best part about this play is we have single-digit ownership. 8.1% projected ownership at the captain slot and over a 25-point projection. So you got to like that when you look at Michael Pittman Jr. His game, obviously, a little bit dependent on T.Y. Hilton being out, so we're going to have to keep an eye on that. If T.Y. Hilton ends up playing, he ends up dropping out of my top 5 at captain, let alone my top 3. So make sure you guys keep an eye on that injury situation there. But at number 1, our favorite captain on the slate, and to me, it's not even relatively close. There's quite a big gap between Deebo Samuel and the rest of my captain picks. That is going to be, again, $14,400 for Samuel. Somebody who's not being overlooked. Obviously, this guy's had a terrific start to the year, averaging over 23 fantasy points per game. But in this situation, he's just a slam dunk play. Somebody's going to see plenty of touches. Again, out of the backfield as a rusher, he's going to get plenty of screens set up for him. And of course, he's just the best wide receiver in this game, period. So again, with a lower over-under, you're looking for the guys that are going to get a ton of touches. And Deebo Samuel at his price tag also gives you enough flexibility to pay up for both quarterbacks. So if you wanted to go to Samuel at captain, you could play both quarterbacks and still have a relatively competitive lineup. Using somebody like Jonathan Taylor and then both quarterbacks, you're looking at about $4,000 left for your last 3 spots, which is far from ideal. So just keep in mind, Deebo Samuel, my number 1 captain play for this slate. All I've got for my Sunday night football picks, guys. Go ahead and let me know down in the comments who you've got as your favorite captain play. Obviously, for me, I'm siding towards Deebo Samuel, but let me know who you've got so we can get some debate going down there. As always, guys, I really appreciate you coming by and supporting the channel. If you guys haven't already liked the video, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, make sure you guys go ahead and do so you don't miss any of the content that I post in the future. We've got content for all the Showdown slates coming out, as well as the main slate here on Sunday, as well as content for the PGA Tour, UFC, and NBA. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of that content. And again, appreciate the support a ton. Until next time, guys, good luck with all of your lineups for this Sunday night football slate. And I'll see you guys for my Monday night football preview coming out on Saturday morning.